Yep, I made it. Welcome in, Mama Bear. It's been a morning, for sure, for sure. So I'm going to let this one more round finish through, just because I just want to get my headspace correct, and then we will jump right in to the art piece of the day. And with that, we really will move on to the major project, considering I'm an hour behind already. So I want to say thanks for coming along on the ride, and I need to see if I can figure out how to, here we go, interact, and exit. All right. Excuse me. You can tell my cold is still being a pain in the neck. We'll just fake it till you make it, you know, if we make it. So today's project is going to be, apologies for the glare, I'm still working on the light brightnesses, but we have ourselves a calendar clock to work with, and as such, might as well get a start on it. Well, yeah, it seems to have a clock on the side. I Don't really know. Probably does. Doesn't easily say anything right on the front about parts, or not parts, batteries. But I mean, the other one I worked on didn't either, and I think this is a different brand. Excuse me, just one second. Bit of a delay in the appearance of the webcam. Not sure why that was, but we'll just go with it. Alright. So plastic, always fun to start with. Let's see if I can get in here with my nails. Nope. Okay, so we're going to pull out the handy dandy X-Acto and try to get the edge just so that we don't mess up any of the plexiglass in this one. There are some clear plexiglass or frosted plexiglass parts to this, so I have a little more need to not scratch things. QR codes and whatever. Alright, so as you can see, because I'm just opening the plastic now, that I did not get the instructions turned into a PDF. So we'll try and keep some space for everybody to see what's going on. Otherwise, nope, I guess that's not going to work because we just don't have space on the desk. Oh, I have glue. Okay, that's bad news. I hate glue. It doesn't like me, I don't like it, and it takes too long to dry. But we'll cross our fingers and hope that we don't have to use it all that much. And if it turns out that there's something we have to affix with glue, but if we have to do that during stream hours, then I will switch over and play some Minecraft. Because, you know, that's just kitty corner over my shoulder now, actually. No, I do not. Part of the delay that we had this morning, and part of the reason I don't have hot tea, is because our refrigerator decided that it was going to crack a leak inside and then leak into the hole through the floor where the water cable is supposed to go. And because we have an internal faucet, I guess you could say, inside with filter and all that jazz. And unfortunately, okay, these appear to be separate, so I'll pull it off. So the resulting effect was we had a water leak to deal with this morning, and that was a little more distracting and made it difficult to focus enough to make tea, etc. So yeah, no tea at the moment, but I do have my water bottle with me, so we can always fall back onto that. Yeah, and so Fox and I will have to be debating late this evening, because he's got a ton of stuff to do today. We'll have to be debating, do we want to try and get the fridge taken apart and get it repaired, or do we intend to go shopping for a new refrigerator? I mean, there's pros and cons about various models and stuff. We liked some of the features of the current one, and some of them not so much. So hopefully we'll be able to figure out what's going on. Okay, this looks like we may have some screws involved. What is A2? Oh no, they're little wood tabs. Okay. So we need 4 of these 2 super tiny wood tabs, which I'm not holding it well, it's behind my camera. So we need 4 of those. Looks like they gave us 6, but it says A2 plus, so I'm trying to avoid them. There's 4 more over here. Maybe I'll start with that spot, because we need A1 as well. And it looks like only one A1 at the moment. So let's start with that. Nothing from the non-A side, so I'll pull these off the table. And I'm just going to set them to the side, but I have to move some stuff on the chair that I just had alongside here. Last week's project of the Easter Bunny is still living on the chair, so I just have to shove it elsewhere. Excuse me while I do so. On the floor for now. There we go. Okay. Now I've got at least a surface I can work with. If I don't hit the acrylic. Okay. So So we need 4 A2s. We'll start with these little tiny A2s. Now this time engine calendar, I keep wanting to call it a clock. It's just because it's got a little pocket watch on the end of it. The time engine calendar was gifted to Fantastic Sherlock Fox, but just with the way his life has been busy with work and whatnot, and sometimes these types of things aren't always his cup of tea, so he opted not to build it himself, and it's been sitting on a shelf. So when I said, hey, I need something to troubleshoot with, he said, well, what about this? And because we didn't have any Lego appropriately in stock. I mean, there's still a closet of holding in our house, but we... Uh-oh, what did I just drop? Drop some pieces I don't need yet. Alright. So although there's a bit of a closet of holding in the house, it's got reasons for it. And so that means that I don't really want to be, getting things early. I mean, in Canada, we are going to be having Mother's Day relatively soon. I think it's around about the 13th of May. I'm not great at knowing dates for stuff like that. Okay. A1. Talk about the printed side. Okay, so A3 is this one. We have what looks to be overall a blimp type shape, so we're going to have a bunch of different sizes of things as we go through. Excuse me. Oh, I'll set this aside. Hopefully I've got it right. And we need to... A1 and A1 printed side, they go together. Okay. Seems like a bit of a shame for the printed side, but I think I can understand because it hides the lettering. And we have to line it up, but where are the pins supposed to go? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there holes? Oh, there's holes. Aha. If I use my brain, I will spot the holes. There we go. So, anyway, yeah, so he'd offered this up for me to work on, and I've got Smeagol and Deagle to do, but given that things had gone kind of sideways today, and that, well, yeah, when I do that, the numbers are really low. I just did not really think that it was a good idea to spend such a great project like Smeagol and Deagle for something like that. We can probably hang on to that, and maybe I'll do it on a stream weekend or something. I haven't really thought about it, but sometimes when Fantastic Sherlock Fox is doing Lego on the stream weekend, I kind of envy him a little bit, and I would like to do it, but I don't want to, overload the weekend with a ton of stuff that's not Minecraft. So I usually end up resorting to Minecraft. But something like Smeagol and Deagle might be worth doing. We'll see. Because I know there's another one coming up on that weekend. And Thursday I said I had some sort of story to tell, and I can't remember what on earth it was. It's just been, not busy as such, but just been one of those weekends or weeks where stuff gets away from you a little bit. Oh, I remember what it was I said I was going to have to tell. Excuse me. Yesterday, we took our... Well, thank you. I'm glad you like the bunny. Yesterday, we took our son to a downtown company doing... that hosts escape rooms. So, quite literally, it's the ones where you have to solve various puzzles to be able to get doors and locks and boxes and all that kind of stuff to open for the next clues and so on. And then the idea being that you get put in the room and they close the door and you can't come out until you finish the puzzle, or your time window to do it is up. And he wanted to do that for his birthday, which was last week. He turned 14, and so he decided to have a bunch of friends over and have an escape room party. And their theme was The Mandalorian from Star Wars, but you didn't actually have to know a whole lot about Star Wars. I mean, knowing it's a space thing, like a sci-fi theme, is probably about all you need to know. My daughter's not as much of a Star Wars fan as my son by any stretch of the imagination, and she said, yeah, it was fine, you didn't have to know anything. Although there were a lot of sort of fan service call-outs, so that was helpful. Excuse me. So he had a really good time doing that, and then afterwards we took him to a pizza place, I think it was. and the the boys all sat to one side, so him and his 4 friends, and then my daughter and I had a slightly separate table, sort of next table over kind of thing. And I guess it was just because the boys wanted to be on their own, doing their own thing. Okay. So I don't understand that, but then it was not an option I was given when I was a kid. Actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. When I was 16, yeah, for sure, it totally is. When I was 16, I got the opportunity to sit on my own. 6, 8. I got 2 of them. I need 12. So when I got the opportunity to sit on my own when I was 16, but that was because I had a party that was just way too big to fit at one table. So had I been able to get everybody at one table, I don't think my parents would have let me make that request. I think my party when I was 16 was almost a dozen people, I think, and we went to one of the Hard Rock cafes. And of course, the parents had to be close enough by and swear up and down they were not going to allow any underage minors to order anything alcoholic, which every single one of us just rolled our eyes because we're like, what's the point? We don't want anything alcoholic, so why are you fussing? But, of course, the staff can't know that. 6. Okay. But anyway, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. But yeah, so we had a whole dozen, and then my brother and my parents sat to the side just because they didn't have room. My daughter did the same thing last summer, though not last summer, the summer before last. For her birthday party, she had a bunch of friends, and then when we went to the pizza restaurant, she wanted to sit by herself. Part of it, her excuse, I guess, was that she wanted to be able to chat about anything and everything without her brother scoffing at the things that she talks about, which I can't blame her because he does that rather frequently. And there are times that maybe I'm part of the problem because I do it too. But it's more of she says, "Mom, you roll your eyes," whereas he actually says something. It's like, okay. But I guess it's, whatever is good for the goose must be good for the gander, I suppose. Okay, so we've got this A4 piece. This is the blank side. And they want these dozen little A6 pieces, these tiny ones, to be put on top of the other one. So we had a good time. The kids actually had a blast, partly in that they got to solve the puzzle. You're supposed to have an hour available to you, and the facility gave them a bit of extra time because they were all under 18. My daughter is notably so. She's a couple years younger than her brother. So it was like 5 roughly 14-year-olds, 13, 14-year-olds, and one a bit younger than that. But my husband and I just sat out in the waiting area and had a good conversation about computers and the fact that due to the impending obsolescence and lack of support for Windows 10, we're going to be needing to upgrade at least 2 laptops in the house. And we were already planning to do some hardware upgrades to my computer tower, but given the very recent change of events regarding possibly needing to get a refrigerator and our what do you call it? Stereo receiver, I guess, in the basement where we watch most of our YouTube and streams and whatever, and movies and things, and we do stuff as a family, or at least mostly family, that it's finally dying and giving up the ghost. It's older than the kids. So we're not surprised, but it still is one of those things we didn't have really on the agenda. So the amount of money that we were hoping for as part of this year's tax return is very quickly getting spoken for. So I may be choosing to put off some things like some of the upgrades to my computer and stuff like that as long as I can, but we'll just have to see. We're not really running into a whole lot of trouble unless I do, say, a modded thing in Minecraft that takes an awful lot of processing and computing brains, I guess. Even if it's just the graphics card. So it takes a lot of that. That's when I start running into trouble, but the funny part is my computer seems to prioritize the stream in such a way that when that has happened, you guys have seen horrible frame rates and dropping and bizarre stuff like that. Sorry, I'm going to bump the mic for a second. You see all those sorts of things happening, but you don't necessarily see the game, or I mean the stream dropping a whole lot. We've had problems where it does, but it doesn't seem to drop a ton, and it has a bunch of quirks from time to time. Though I did a reset on it last week, one of those completely reinstall Windows but don't touch anything with settings or applications. I'm not sure how well it's going to work, because I've never knowingly chosen that option before. I might have, and it was just phrased differently. And so anyways, it has been refreshed, so we'll see if that helps. And we're going to add some more RAM to it, because that's a little bit cheaper to do, and may take a lot of the strain off. Okay, let's see. So we're putting... Align this line. Why are we aligning a line? Blank side. Oh, whoops. I got these all on backwards. I read the blank side part, and I saw... So, I read the blank side part, and then saw a picture beside it, and didn't put two and two together that they've actually got the pieces going onto the blank side sort of direction, and then the straight flat parts have to go onto the side of the line. So yeah, I have to pull them all off and redo it. That's okay. That's okay. It's annoying to have to do it, but it's not, you know, insurmountable. Anyway, so where we were going with that was to say that, you know, like, there's a decent tax return, but it's being quickly spoken for by other things that I personally deem a lot higher priority than playing around with my computer. Although this particular setup that we see here may get a couple of tweaks to it. I'm thinking about a couple more clamps so that I can eliminate tripods on the desk, and that will give me a little bit more flexibility in how things move around. And a couple more longer cords, because once again, at the moment, the positioning of things is somewhat limited by the length of cordage you've got. Just because I've got about foot and a half, maybe 2 feet between the corner of this desk I'm sitting at and the corner of my computer desk, and my tower is underneath the nearest end of the computer desk, so we've got a little more space required. Yeah, they always get bumped around. Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, for some of the stuff, we can wait. Like, my computer tower is already running Windows 11, so it's not like it has to be upgraded because it's got some sort of, you know, processor that wouldn't be allowed. Windows 11 already existed at the time I bought the computer, so it's good that that's going to work. As we've discussed before, my laptop, which is going to be getting mothballed, only runs Windows 10, and even though it's the correct generation number of i7 chip to be allowed for Windows 11, like, that's the idea. It's on the early end of it, but that was or the early end of the generation, so it's an 8th gen. I think it was an 8th? I'm trying to remember if it's an 8th or 7th. Anyways, point is, it is frustratingly a sub-generation, single sub-generation away from the lowest end of what was allowed to switch to Windows 11. And something to do with a TPM something. But then there's been plenty of workaround ways where you're supposed to be able to tell the system checking about upgrades and allowing or preventing upgrades to skip that TPM check so that it sort of ignores the fact that you don't have whatever it's looking for. And I just can't seem to get those to work. Or it's checking for something else that I have not figured out and don't know about blocking. So yeah. That's kind of frustrating. I mean, it's not like I want to keep using it in a big way. We just use it every once in a while for games and stuff when I want to play in the same room as the kids. But we're looking at ways where my husband and I can share a computer for the amount of, you know, gaming on our laps that we would actually do. Because most of the time when he would need the computer, I'm either not gaming or if we're gaming, it's generally not in the same room. We will fire up a Google Meet and then go sit in our various offices in the house or bedroom or whatever. 8. How many do we need? Just 2. Okay. And then we'll use the Google Meet for conversation while we play. So we're talking about, sharing gaming computer between him and I, and his is already new enough and fast enough and whatever for the purposes I need in that sense. And then we've got some older tech around the house that still happens to be Windows 11, but it would definitely be... I bought like a Microsoft Surface. He picked it up a while ago for some reason or other that I can't quite remember. But he being Fantastic Sherlock Fox. Okay, and this one... Okay. But Fend... Attention to the position and direction of the part trader hole. What part trader? Oh, hole. Oh, I see we have to line these up. Okay. And direction. Fine, in the same way. That looks better. Okay. So anyway, we have this Microsoft Surface that will probably do the trick in some other cases where I might be able to, in a lot of games, I might be able to actually run the game on my tower in my own office in the basement, and then just remote into that so that the local machine doesn't have to do much lifting at all. Like everything is generated and run and calculated and whatever by the much stronger or much more powerful machine in the basement. So that would probably do the trick in a lot of cases as well. So I don't have to have as much installed locally on any machine, but we'll see. That's one way of saving a as people jokingly say, a loonie or two. And I know it's funny, but Canadians' money does seem to be a bit of a source of amusement for other parts of the planet. It looks like these 2 layers are supposed to sandwich together, and I'm getting that working mostly, but there's a couple of spots where it's sticking a bit, and one of them just does not want to go. Yeah, there's a couple of them that just do not want to go in. So I think I may have accidentally press shifted them. I see why they say align in an earlier step to align it to the circle. Otherwise, it's not going to work out right. And now, I'm kind of stuck, and I'm a little bit leery to put too much pressure into pulling it apart, because if you put a ton of pressure in, then excuse me, then you can snap them. And these ones, don't always come with replacement parts. I like the glue, but I'd rather not use it too early for things it doesn't say to. Hey, Fantastic Sherlock Fox, how are things going for you? You seem to be a very, very busy fox. So we were just talking about the fact that you and I sat out the games room yesterday and talked about the various needs of upgrades for household computers. So I was talking about use cases and stuff like that. And in that vein further, but not directly related to gaming as such, my daughter, you guys have seen her work actually, Sheep Queen is the one who designed the emotes that you see on my stream that are face palms and sheep, like raid sheep, the little rainbow ones. And what else did she design I use? I can't remember off the top of my head, but those are the most notable ones. And she, so she needs an upgrade as well. Or, yeah, an update, I suppose. An upgrade. Where, but she's much more into the art side of things most of the time. So hers doesn't have to be a big gaming powerhouse, though she does occasionally play with the rest of the family or her brother on some relatively chunky games. Or she'll play something more calming, like, say, Slime Rancher and Slime Rancher 2, and unfortunately those are lagging pretty badly. So, while her machine doesn't have to be as powerful as his, it's worth having some juice behind it. But then also knowing that we may end up having to upgrade her iPad as well, because she uses it for a bunch of things in addition to using it as a drawing tablet. Okay, so I finally got the top step here done. Oops, you guys can't see that. Yeah, finally got that done. And now we're onto the piece that I folded for. So it's got a... Looks like we're doing another version of what we did for the first step. But it pins all these 3 sections together, like the 2 bigger sections, and then the, what may be spacers together. So I need to grab some longer pins, which are A7s. Okay, how many do we need? 4. Okay, I'm going to start with these corners. It's funny, I'm always torn. Do I start with the corner versions of them, or the more central versions of them? And it's just about, let's say A7 plus. Maybe I better not. A7s. But I always wonder when there's more placements, because I wonder if keeping the stability on the edges of the card might be more useful, or whether I should punch out the exterior ones first and deal with the central ones later. Okay, so we've got 4 longer pins, A7s. They've got a sanding strip, like a little piece of sandpaper in here too, but if I don't need to make a huge mess, I can deal with most of it, then we're fine. Phone call, yep, no problem. Reality would normally dictate that we wouldn't have much time in the stream left. I started an hour late, so I may stick around an hour late, but I do have to go out today. Got a couple of rather notable errands to do. Oh, yeah, and then when you get back, you'll have heard, or I will have talked about, excuse me, another kind of annoying occurrence. But yeah, yesterday, when I went to start up my vehicle, or my pickup truck, I guess, a small one, but it's a Honda, so I don't know if I'm going to qualify as a pickup truck or not. I do. But I went to start it up after our evening at the pizza restaurant, and unfortunately, it did not want to start. Turns out, I mean, I did end up having a boost box, so that wasn't a big deal. We just boosted it and off I went. But I tried to turn on the center console for some tunes once I figured the alternator had given the thing enough juice, etc. And turns out that the reason that the that the vehicle had not wanted to start was somehow it had been tripped into anti-theft mode. So of course it doesn't want to start, so that it couldn't be stolen, right? That kind of makes sense. Okay. Have a great day, Fantastic Sherlock Fox. I'll see you this evening. Yeah. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put these pins in one side, then I'm going to try and thread on the center section, and then I'll put the other pieces on afterwards. The third section. So sort of build a sandwich. But in this case, I'm putting the toothpicks in first. Oops. So the vehicle did not want to start, and it had been in anti-theft mode. And it's like, oh, okay, so now I need to put it on my proper to-do list. Pardon me. As a to-do thing to remember to read up on what it is that triggers the vehicle into that mode. Hey Jay! It's funny that you're so frequently the one who uses that. Oh, I guess it's on my also to-do list. That, and I never remember to do it for some reason, that I was looking into switching up that option. It'll still be there, the first thing, but it would end up having options that would make it first, second, or third. Person would still be able to claim something similar. I wouldn't necessarily have fancy art for all of them, but it would definitely say something about, thanks for being the first one here, so-and-so beat you, but that's okay. You know, something along those lines. And I just have to remind myself to implement that. Yeah, so anyways, I have to look up, put on a lot about to-do lists, and I don't know if I ever get ahead on them or not. But, so I have to look up why, or like what it is that I may have accidentally done that tripped the vehicle into anti-theft mode. I mean, I guess one could argue that it's a good thing to have it kick into that and then be able to get it out. But that's the thing, is I want to be able to recognize what are the signs that it's being tripped into this mode. And aside from boosting it, what do I do to get it back out of the mode? Now, Fantastic Sherlock Fox said he tripped it into that mode somehow at one point himself. But in his case, he was able to successfully wake up the center console, like where your little display screen and control of, well, display if you've got that a feature. And then where your like aircon and all that stuff is. He was able to wake it up enough that popped up the little instruction for, vehicle is in anti-theft mode, do this to get it out of anti-theft mode. So you could do that. For some reason, mine started acting, like when I had it happen, it started acting like I really had an issue with a dead battery. And that could be part of the defense mechanism, is to basically pretend you do, I guess. But in any case, because I didn't know any of that, I was trying all the little things that you do with, like, if your remote fob, RFID fob or whatever, has run low on battery, then in ours you can just take the fob itself and press it right on the starter button as such, because it's a keyless system. You can press it right on there, and that wasn't doing anything. Like, it wasn't even responding the slightest, which is weird because normally if you press that button without anything, like when there's power and stuff to the vehicle, you press it without holding the fob to it. If it doesn't detect the fob because whatever, the battery's dead or something, then it will still blink in the vehicle, but I wasn't getting any of that. When I finally pressed the fob to it, all the gauges acted in the same manner they had when I had a battery issue. The only thing that we didn't get was I think it was the sparker clicking thing you get, or whatever the little clicky noises you get is there. I did briefly light up, only some of the lights, not all of the lights, and the little gauge meters, I guess, wiggled around, but not even anywhere near as long as they normally do when the battery's dead. It just went halfway through and stopped. So maybe I did need to boost it too, who knows. But yeah, so that was not great. I mean, thankfully in the vehicle with me, I only had my daughter at that time, because Fantastic Sherlock Fox was driving the boys, or no, not the boys, was driving the vehicle that had schlepped the boys from the escape room to the restaurant. So he and my son had just started to leave, and I texted him going, the truck won't start. He didn't even respond back with, like, can you jump it? He actually said, be right there, and did a turnaround and came over and had a look and stuff. So basically we jumped it together simply because Hondas are stupid. Not all Hondas, but this one in particular is dumb. And from what I hear, some of these similar, like, SUV models are dumb in the same way, that so much of the chassis is covered in plastic that if you have to jump things, there isn't much available for a negative terminal to work with. Like, you don't put both ends of the leads on the battery, but the positive terminal is really easy to find. The cap is there, etc. But it's really difficult to get to metal to ground your negative. I managed to find a spot, but the resulting effect, though, is it's more than a foot to foot and a half away from the battery positive terminal. And unfortunately, some of the remote jump packs you buy, like auxiliary boost packs that you buy, have... Okay, so this chunk is now going to be called B, I guess? Yeah, so, okay. So, with this boost pack thing, I had a real struggle getting the leads to reach anything, and this is the second time I've had that happen. Of course, the second time I needed to use the boost pack, and the first time was probably my own fault, but I'm not admitting that to Fantastic Sherlock Fox. I mean, he's gone mobile now, so now he's heard that. And we did talk about it sort of briefly at the time. But anyway, so this round was definitely 100% not my fault, because everything was fine when I shut down to go into the restaurant. So certainly 100% not my fault this time around. Well, like the dead batteriness, if there really was any. That's the if, right? Okay, let's see. B. Oh. Okay, so we've got this big section, B3, here. And we need to get 12 months So B1-1 through B1-12. Okay, so it's all these things with the months written on them, I guess. And days that... No, months is... We're working on days of the week is later. But they say, don't press on the easily broken area. Okay, so there's a flexi section in the middle. And I need to not press on that. So we have to carefully remove these pieces without pressing on those. And then stick them into holes on the B3 section. So anyway, yeah, that was my adventure. I swear, this vehicle loves me and both loves me and hates me. So there's been times where it's come to my rescue, so to speak, fairly effectively, and even allowed me to show up some rather arrogant, snotty men in the scouting community. But then there's been other times, like this sort of thing, where jumping a vehicle and stuff is kind of required, and sometimes people act like, well, what did you do to make it happen? Or can't you keep your vehicle in good repair? So I prefer not to ask strangers if I can possibly handle it. That, and I was actually present when one of my Coast Scouters did need to jump their vehicle, and they did it with the classic jumper cables from vehicle to vehicle. Thankfully I wasn't the source vehicle, but they did cause some sparking and some concern about the vehicle on the part of the person offering the electrical source. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that classic format. It's just, like, I've been taught how to do it, I know how to do it, I've actually done it, I just don't like doing it that way if I can possibly avoid it. June, September... So, anyway, yeah, I love the vehicle and I hate the vehicle when it does stuff like this to me. Although it was kind of amusing because when I was having problems and had my hood up to figure out what I could do about it, at my dance night, there were plenty of parents, both female and male, who were coming to pick up their kids, girls I think, from what looked like a Girl Guide meeting. So that's why I said girls I think. But anyways, there was plenty of them, and not a one even slowed down as they passed me in the parking lot to try and see what was up. So, you know, that's another reason I don't like dealing with human beings when it comes to vehicle issues. And we've talked in the past about having issues with our local motor association because you could say the right hand doesn't know what the left is. The right hand doesn't know what the left is doing in terms of the blank side. I'm just gonna say, is it going to? Yeah. It doesn't actually say, but I think I'm going to put it on the inside. Yeah, like I've jumped a few others in the classic format, and I've never had to jump mine in the classic format. I've been the source once or twice when someone else at the time knew how to do it. They just were not prepared to need it, I guess you could say. So, 1, 2, there we go. I'm trying to match up the correct spots. But that was one of the reasons why we bought a boost box. And the side effect perk to it is the boost boxes we buy also tend to have some extra features, like if you really needed a power bank for something, then it can be that, or they can be you could say a torture flashlight. And the third reason actually is because the current one doesn't have it, but the previous boost box we had, which was a little bit bigger. So if you picture more closer to about 2/3 the size of a standard auto battery, that was the previous one. It came with a little cone that clipped on over the flashlight section, so that you could actually set the flashlight to be a blinker or something if you had some other type of non-jumpable trouble. So you could turn it into what was essentially an LED flare, not flare, yeah, like road marker kind of thing. Scan to watch. I don't think we need to worry too much about that. It's not that I'm trying to be arrogant here, but The instructions are fairly straightforward, and if you can't quite figure out how to get from one step to the next, you're not really doing it right. Okay, so Jan. Okay, they want me to go across the top. I think for the safety of the parts, I'm going to go the other direction so that I can't accidentally clip the bottom. So instead of going January, February, I've got to go to December now and then work my way around. So this current one that I've got right now for a boost box is actually a good bit smaller. I think its storable power level is actually higher. It doesn't have like a cigarette lighter adapter on it, but frankly, who needs that these days? It's got a nice USB-C charging on it too, which is great. And it's one of those ones where after I get my vehicle tested, you know, or at least after the last time we had a boost situation, when we had somebody look at it and go, yeah, okay, your vehicle is fine. We don't know what did it. You probably just somehow drained the battery so you couldn't start the car. But all the power systems and alternation and all that does was fine. I'm gonna have to sand these spots. But as after that, I had no hesitation plugging it in via USB from the vehicle to charge the battery while I was moving. Like, it wasn't an issue. So that was helpful, I guess. The previous one would have had a funky adapter that fits in your 12-volt, formerly cigarette lighter slot, or a big wall brick, which of course neither of those are useful all that much in some of the more modern vehicles, because since the 12-volt circular adapters are not used for smoking anymore, more and more vehicles are hiding them inside, you know, consoles and like inside the center armrest section or whatever as a storage zone thing, and so those pieces are getting hidden in, which means that to have cables hanging out and whatnot to charge your boost pack or whatever is becoming less and less convenient. Although ours has one in there in addition, I think it has one there, in addition to another USB port. So that's good. And this doesn't want to quite fit. I can probably wriggle at that one after stream, because I don't want to fuss with it and risk breaking it while I'm chitter-chattering here. She says as she continues. Yeah, that one. I also don't want it super loose, right? But it's peeling the layers, so I think I might have to sand the front and back a little bit. Anyway. So having a boost box, I've really loved it, because when I go with scouts, I mean, there's times where we go to a place where getting a response from your auto association is the kind of thing where they would say, oh yeah, it's going to be hours. Well, that's great, but if you've been tenting all weekend and you're cold and you're probably, you know, hungry for like getting home and have an extra regular takeout lunch or something, or even regular food, I'm distracted a little bit by what Jay said. Jay, I don't know what plug socket. Okay, I was gonna have to ask you to explain what a plug shocker was. Like, excuse me? Yeah, exactly. We've got USB ports that the rear passengers can use, and there's one of those 12-volt circular sockets in the center console, in addition to having one up front. Which, yeah, the up front one, I'd rather have a second USB, but whatever. I usually use the port for a 12-volt USB adapter anyway, so, you know, when I need a second one, that is. But yeah, we usually have USB ports that fit, and for one of our vehicles, I think it was, I don't think we own it anymore, but one of the ones we owned that didn't have any of these things in the back seat section, then we actually had just like super long USB cables that would go from one of the circular adapters to USB, so that was helpful. And it's funny because those cables have worked their way into the house now because we didn't need them, and most of them have ended up in my kids' rooms so that they can have them plugged in on their charging bars on the floor and still charge things on the desk. So useful, just elsewhere. For the 3-pin plugs. That's interesting. I mean, I've seen inverters that we can use to be able to charge regular things. And actually, my truck bed has, you know, a plug for regular North American power, because it's designed so you theoretically could also use it as a work truck, and so you can plug in your, you know, tools and so forth. So I mean, that's handy, but once again, I wouldn't personally use it while I'm driving, as in, like, not even for charging, just because, to me, I'm just so not used to it that it seems weird. But that's okay. It actually is kind of helpful for a while, though, because, like, having those ports and stuff, because when I did a long road trip with the kids, all the way out to Vancouver Island off Canada's west coast for Jamboree last summer? Yeah, last summer. Sorry, time feels weird these days. Then I probably would have gone a bit more insane than I did, simply because the kids would have had less to do. They're not as practiced as, yes, the whole back in my day, but as the previous generation, spending long periods in the car with little to no electronics. I think there would have been a lot more arguments over what we would put on the stereo for everybody to listen to. So by having those ports, it was great because I spent a good amount of time listening to video game music as the two of them played stuff together. Because we have a Switch, so like a Switch 1. I don't know why, but it seems to bend my brain a little bit to be thinking of the calendar backwards. I understand why it's being done this way, but it still seems a bit weird. Oh, come on. Particle board, you are evil. Or, sorry, laminate. Layered board. I mean, it's sticking well. Like, I don't have any concerns that it would come apart. It's just getting it in the first place without damaging it is proving to be a feat. It's not exactly one of the 12 labors of Hercules, but it certainly feels like one of the 12 labors of Delenn. So, yeah. But having a jump pack is helpful because, as I said, if I'm out in the boonies, I want to be able to have control, because sometimes I'm not... The way things work out with the pullouts after camp with other leadership, we have reason to generally not hang around for one another. So if I'm the one who's, say, volunteered to lock up the gate, I have to let everybody through and gone. We don't just, like, hang around. So if my vehicle doesn't start, then that's a whole world of hurt. And that's part of why we bought the boost box. So yeah, useful. I've also used the previous one for things like, the previous one had a 12-volt adapter on it because we didn't have one toward the back of the vehicle. And so the previous one was also used for things like, our Bazaar cooler that we don't use on scout trips, but we do use on family trips. Our Bazaar cooler that has a 12-volt power adapter, or a North American wired one, although I don't know where that got to. But yeah, the cooler has a fan in it. So you can either use it to cool the stuff, or this fan section can be switched. It has a little slide switch and can be used to go the opposite direction and have a little tiny electric heater in it. So let's say you, I don't know, had picked up like McDonald's. We used to use it for that. You know, pick up a little bit of McDonald's. We couldn't fit a pizza in there, but we, you know, your burgers and fries or whatever, could fit inside the cooler. And then you switch it to heater mode. And then, you know, if you had another stop to make or whatever on the way home, between the cooler itself, or the thermal unit itself, and the little electric heater in it, you could keep the food passably warm. So that was kind of helpful. I mean, that unit was just useful and weird at the same time. I had the reverse thing happen, though. The slider switch on the cooler. Yes, I'm rambling from one topic to another. The slider switch on the cooler, when we were running it off for 12 volt, was super easy to bump, and we didn't realize that. Like, it's just one of those little oblong slide switches, but it had like a thumb textured set of ridges on it. So it kind of sort of like what we're seeing in the calendar, but straight ridges instead of little curvy pieces. And so the straight ridges snagged on something. I don't know if we were loading or like unloading or whatever it was. I think unloading some auxiliary supplies because it was a week-long trip we'd been on. And we, so by bumping it, unfortunately, we opened the cooler. I don't know if it was hours later, or I think it was hours later. Because we were unloading stuff. And when we finally finished unloading, we're like, okay, we'll go make dinner. We opened the cooler to see a sight of everything underwater. And we had put ice in the cooler, and I guess plugged it in so that we could use the fan to prolong the life of the ice, which got snagged and turned into the heater, and yeah, it was a bit of a mess. So, fun stories. But yeah, anyways, with this jumper battery, we used it for that, but also it meant... Oh! Welcome on in, Raiders. Welcome, welcome. Let's see, do I have a drop on the screen? Can I drop? No, not unless I manually do it. Okay, so anyway, long story made short, having a jump box with an external power on it was great because then I could actually take this thermal box and, keep it cool a little bit longer. So it's not quite a refrigerator, but it does help a little bit. So that was helpful, nice, fun. Welcome on, Raiders. So, Kraef is another fantastically wonderful member of our stream team. And he does Lego, I think, almost exclusively. For a while he had another channel that was basically an animal cam. But unfortunately, lots of other reasons, but that has been dormant for a while. But Kraef, in your stream today, please do enlighten us on what you were working on. I am pleased and spoiled that you decided to bring your crew by. Your group of chatters. I am working on a time engine calendar. Ow. And to give my thumb a rest for a split sec, because I don't really feel like getting out the sandpaper again. I'll show you what we're working on. It's called Time Art Time Engine Calendar. So that's what we're working on right now. We definitely will not get it finished today, but I will go for maybe about another hour, I think, because I started a bit of an hour late due to issues involving electrics, head colds, and most notably a refrigerator gone south to be leaking into the basement. So yeah. By the way, it wasn't leaking, sorry, I should clarify that. A refrigerator's water line inside the fridge having gone south. So one of those filter units, where you can get filtered water. So yeah, it was just more that I was being a bit pokier getting ready in the morning because I kind of want to use the facilities when I can actually wash my hands afterwards, but at the time, Fantastic Sherlock Fox, for good reason, had the house water off because it turns out, along with a few other spots we discovered, our house builder at the time had taken some corner cuts. Oh, that's apologies. So yeah, our house builder cut some corners, and the resulting effect was that we have a refrigerator water line that is not done properly. Oops. So I'm just going to struggle with this for a minute or two. Apologies if I get quiet while I focus. I really don't want to break these pieces because it specifically says on there, don't press on the easily broken area. I think even being originally a natural blonde, I can understand that. There we go. Alright. May, April. Okay. Gonna make it all the way around. Ooh, it's wedgie. So, bad. One thing that Poodle Pirate ran into that relates here, not to my non-crafting story, but to the streaming thing, is they discovered, or at least noted, that the little marker that streamers get to see and mods that says roughly how long an ad is going to last. Like when it starts and how long it's going to last, is not exactly accurate. For example, I believe we've got about a 3-minute ad section, but my notice says it should be over in just barely a minute, and we've still got about 1:05 on what I'm seeing from my preview of the live screen going out. Oh, for those of you that just arrived, welcome on in. I still have the head cold that I was whining about in Dadcraft 73's Discord. So you will hear my voice going in and out. It's just a thing, I guess. Oh. This thing is peeling up the layers, so that makes it hard to put in. Let me just see who I've missed coming in. Oops. Well, scroll back. Cool. 1, 2, come on. There we go. Okay, so we said hello to Monitor and Fantastic Shopbox ages ago. Need to make sure I've got the right spots. And Jay, excellent. And okay, anybody else? Nope. I would not blame Creep if he did a raid and run, or if he got slammed by ads. So yeah. My little notice says everybody is back. Alrighty. So I was curious what Creef had been up to in his stream. Just would like to know what he's been working on. And what else was I going to say? Oh, nothing related directly, but yeah, so I was yakking about refrigerator lines. So that was what's delayed my stream this morning by the whole hour. Was between the head cold coughing fits, so that I wanted to make sure I could actually wash up hands and not be a disgusting germ-ridden slime ball. I didn't want to try to use the sink because the water was turned off. So anyway, there's that. And yeah, so our refrigerator line had gone. And so that was like it's the inside of the refrigerator. So when the house builders built the house and the plumbing was installed, whoever did it, rather than installing a separate line with a cutoff, they just forked off of an existing line and didn't install any cutoff whatsoever. And then when our refrigerator was installed, nobody bothered to tell us that. Like even on the upper end of the line, because often there's one near the fridge side as well, where the fridge connects into the line at the fridge end, not at the split location. So yeah, nobody bothered to tell us that either. So then we've had a few. I mean, the fridge itself was like 15 years old, more or less. And we, since then, have had 2 household water heater replacements, and 2, and one, of course, we went through. I don't remember if we got the water heater replaced twice or if we had it replaced once and then went to electric. But anyways, the point being, we've had the household water off a fair bit. I mean, like, there was a brief time that it was even off because of weird water restrictions, just very, very briefly. But apparently, by the way that the house plumber, like installation plumber, didn't put in their cutoffs, they also didn't put in any, what they call, I guess they're calling it a hammer break, but the idea being that it's supposed to take off some of the pressure via backflow, preventing the refrigerator from draining, so therefore it doesn't end up with getting affected by the fact that the house water's off, and it wasn't shut off. So yeah, so all that to say that that was a bit of a weird frustration start to the morning, a bit of a distraction. So that was partly that. So, and the other part was, of course, when you first get up in the morning, you've got a head cold, your system goes, I need to get rid of all of that, which is gross and disgusting, and I won't get into too many details, but suffice to say, a lot of coughing and nose blowing and jazz. And I don't know about you, but if my system's doing that, I don't want to stream while I'm doing that a lot. During the beginning part of this stream, there was a little bit of coughing and stuff. And if I get a tickle, I do have to mute and deal, but nowhere near what it was when I first woke up, which is good. So, yeah. Okay, we're on the last one of these calendar panels. I can't seem to get it to go in without sanding it. Not entirely sure why, but that's okay. Now, for those who arrived and had seen me put together the wonderful lantern gift from our fine Jay, yes, I will eventually get Pix put up. I keep saying I'm going to, and, well, ADHD. But that one definitely did not require any glue anywhere, even though it does require batteries for it. It's a little light. I'm suspecting this will probably need some batteries somewhere along the line, but I'm not quite sure. We'll see. Anyway, so yeah, this one does come with some glue. So at some point it's going to want me to affix something via glue. Now if that ends up interrupting one of my streams, in terms of like put the glue piece on and let it dry, well then we'll just go play Minecraft. So yeah. Or some other game. I mean, since I streamed it, because I really was not having a Minecraft day, a few weeks ago, I did go end up buying, in English, did end up going and buying, there we go, a license to the video game Planet Crafter. So, one could argue it's quasi-Minecraft-esque. Yeah, not exactly. Oh! Okay. So we need to put this funky section that we've built already onto all the curved-in, bent-in pieces from this larger section. They have a scan to watch how you do it thing. I'm tempted, but I think I might just wing it. And cross my fingers, because we've got slots on the inside of little flanges, I guess? Maybe. On the smaller section that would probably fit onto the slots on the main section. So, yeah. I'm not sure how I'm going to hold this properly so you guys can see it. But, you know, it's got nothing to do with Minecraft. Actually, maybe, I don't know, if somebody who's got the wherewithal could just drop a note at some point in my Discord, simply, it's a reminder thing, but simply say something along the lines of, like, looking into or investigating 3D printing a tabletop vise. I'd seen, you know, no glue, no hardware vices when I was perusing some of the 3D printing pattern haunts. And that might be fairly useful. I understand they want me to be very, very careful doing this, so this would be interesting to get put together, to say the least. Because these springy bits, I mean, the first one is easy peasy lemon squeezy, but the rest, whether you can see it or not, I don't want to break anything, so I'm kind of leery/nervous to bend it too much. Well, and the first one came off. It's going to be right. So February is in, but January popped out. Come on, game things, please stick. Okay. Nope. All right. Well, we'll try March and see if we can recover from that. March, please. All right. Yep. February stayed in and March didn't. Okay, so I'll work my way around that way. So anyway, anyway, an awful lot. Right, but yeah, if I had a vice thing, then in some cases that'd be useful to be able to hold on to something while I'm fiddling with other parts of it. Unlurk, welcome back. Hopefully, Jay, your day had gone well so far. I keep getting reminded that you guys are so, well, I shouldn't say so in a bad way, but are, what is it now? About 6 hours ahead of me? Yeah, for me it's daytime, so yeah, 6 hours ahead. Well, okay, you guys might be 7 hours ahead again, just because I think BST still shifts. But compared to UTC, or what used to be Greenwich Mean Time, so people still call it GMT, then I guess it's 6 hours now. Anyhow, but I was reminded that you're so much farther ahead than me when I saw people posting in DC Discord this morning saying, "Yep, we're up and at 'em early. Gotta get on it and kick this week before it has a chance to kick us," or something. Can't remember quite what Bob said, but yeah, I will be honest. People were getting up and posting stuff like that, and I wasn't in bed yet from last night. I'm really getting to the point where my ADHD meds and its semi-natural night owlness are catching up with each other, and so I really need to talk to my doctor about potentially getting off my meds because it's making things so much worse. And I had I think I mentioned it on stream, but anyways, a couple weeks ago I had a really bad day where the med amount in my system was ridiculously too high. It wasn't like a danger, go to the hospital thing or anything like that, but a lot of the side effects that should not happen were all happening. So yeah, it was not a fun feeling. For those of you that don't take stimulation medication, the way I described it to my therapist last week was simply to picture if you're on a swing, okay, or a pendulum, I guess, but a pendulum motion, and your goal with the medication is to get to whatever would be sort of the ground point. So you're starting at one of the ends raised, and your goal would be to get to the ground point. Have a good day or evening, Jay. I hope you're able to get some time to relax and chill. Grief's now an hour in front of Jay instead of... Are you normally 2 hours in front of Jay, or are you usually 1 hour? Like, what's your UTC time zone, Grief? I thought you were 2 hours ahead of UTC. Whereas I'm 7 behind, except in summer when I'm 6 behind. But yeah. Oh, that's what I didn't want to have happen. Okay, well, I will figure out what to do about that off stream. We may go with an expedient solution, depending on how much Fox cares. Or we might end up trying to glue it, but yeah. The expedient solution would probably be a little teeny bit of sellotape hidden behind it. That might also be the best bet because of flexibility purposes, because the glues wouldn't be flexible. They would actually probably clog up the holes and not be flexible. So, yeah, not ideal. Anyway, yeah, so I had a bunch of bad reactions to it, and I want to get off those meds. Suffice to say, because they make me extra weird. But yeah, if you're on a swing and you're aiming for the ground point, as in at the bottom of the swing, but your med levels are too high, then it's like you got pushed too hard on the swing and you're going to go right past it to the other side, which is not always a good thing. You don't get sort of quote-unquote back to where you started. It's often back to where you started, but worse. That's not quite what I meant, Grief, but I can figure out the math, I guess. So, like, people, when we talk about, yeah, you might be, I can't remember, somebody told me once, or SA, like, whether they usually refer to UTC or GMT. I can't recall off the top of my bean, and my source is no longer an associate. Or, pardon me, what's the word? Not an associate. Acquaintance, that's the word. Ooh, okay, sticking. Do we have enough stick that can fake it out? Maybe not. We'll see. But no, what I was going with is, when we talk about, like, stream times and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, well, so then if you're referring to GMT, your time zone then, because GMT, technically, because they're talking about the Greenwich Mean Time, although Greenwich itself, as I understand, partakes in British summertime, so they would have shifted as a city. But if we're talking about Greenwich Mean Time, what's your time zone normally in Greenwich Mean Time? And does SA, or at least your region of it, subscribe to Daylight Savings Time? Okay, yeah, GMT plus 2, so yeah, UTC plus 2 would be really then what you're at for the, they say universal, which is the non-shifting version. But I don't know if there's a... It's funny because, what is it? The UTC is like universal time coordination or something. Although you don't shift. Okay, yeah. So then you would still be. So that makes sense. Then you'd be a 1 hour ahead of J, but normally you'd be 2 hours. Okay. So this one I've busted it, but I think I can probably hide some decently strong cello in the back, or scotch tape, or something along those lines. I think that'll work. And I will do that off camera. And it's actually mildly funny in a sort of almost ironic kind of way. That of all the months on this calendar, the one that I should crack is the one with my own birthday in it. I'm sure somebody would probably make something out of that and say that, yeah, well, it's a, karmic or foreshadowing or some sort of other nonsense. Oh, I see part of where the problem had come from. Okay. The upper edge here is rubbing a little bit on the December one, which is giving it extra resistance. So when I put it back together, I have to be careful about making sure that lines up. Okay. Well, news to me. Anyway, so where are we now? Got that end done. What? Okay, schematic. This is end of step 1. Lovely. So we finished step 1. Yippee skippy. Now we can go into step 2. Before we're done, we'll actually have to fix this part. We've got no choice because there is a section of the model where, where this calendar section has to be able to get past the plexiglass pieces. And as it stands right now, I don't think it would. I think it would keep snagging. So I need to fix that. Alright, so let's see what we can do about step 2. Step 2 has B, starting on the right apparently. So B4R, that's this one. Okay, look, I'm just gonna lay out all my pieces. Yep, okay. I also have a cheaty thing, if I can find my mouse to operate. Cheaty thing in that, Windows offers you a couple of different time zones. So I've got one for Jay and one for James, and James and Ames, or the Naders, so that I've got a rough idea where people are at, and I can sort of ballpark based on that. So, yeah. It's kind of funny, though. Every once in a while, I forget where people are. And not all of them, but things like, I forget where Cold Reindeer is. And part of it is just because there are some days that he is very on the ball with some of his responses, and it surprises me, and it's very useful, and so forth. And there's other days where I want to delude myself and say he's not in the UK, because how on earth could somebody be living in the UK and dealing with our community be quite so clueless? But that's most of the time I have that secondary reaction when I'm just being tired, and I have a bad habit that I've discovered of becoming a little bit more, rude would be the word? Possibly. When I am tired. Not tired. Should be tired. It is the wee hours of the night, and I'm still chemically running. Okay. So we've got the B4R. We're on to sheet C. Where is C? I will say, compared to the other set I have done, like when I did Jay's Lantern, the pieces in this one, in the sheets, are a good bit less tight and mounted, so I don't have to worry about it peeling bits of the paper, the support frame off of the thing, because I'm noticing that some of the pieces from board A are already like dropping out on their own as I bump it around. Okay. So related to what I said earlier, we need one cog now. And I'm going to work from the inside out for stability reasons. just so that when I go to press out this one later, like if I did the other way around, I wouldn't end up having a flexier piece to work with. I think I'll start with the inside out. Okay, so that one. C6 times 4. That's 6 plus, that's 6. Okay. Times 4. So let's just grab the center-ish one. Hope I don't break them on the way through. Kind of neat how they have a bunch of things that would be some format of hardware or screws or something, but they don't need to actually use any metal in this one. So it makes things much more of a kit card. And actually it would be kind of fun, hindsight 2020 and all that, at some point. I may look for one, is to find out whether or not I could 3D print something like this. Preferably not so much wasted material if it's 3D printed. I would do it more kit card style with little tabs, so it looks more like the kind of sheets you see when Dadcraft builds, say, a Gundam model. Okay, we've got 4 of these 2. Are you gonna start calling them something bizarre? No. G2, what the heck? I don't even know what that piece is. Well, I'll figure that one out in a sec because it looks like we can pin the first 2 together before I have to worry about what the other one is. Excuse me. And yeah, I mean, given all the stuff that's been going on lately, oh, there's a very subtle line on these, like on the drawings for these, so I'm going to try and put the line outwards, and we'll see what happens. Because I got that other one backwards, and it turned out not to be a problem, and I fixed it, but I don't want to risk breaking any more pieces. Cog on the outside, over, these 2, these, whatever you call them, things in there. I was going to tell you guys something, but I can't seem to remember what it was. So now it's funny because Fantastic Sherlock Fox and I have been discussing the hardware elements of streaming setups for hands-on activities like Lego. Oh. Sorry, what I'm kind of looking at here that they don't seem to describe this, and maybe it doesn't matter, is with what orientation they want the little plug things to go in. Like, can I put them crosswise like I am, or do I need to go sort of more of a flat direction? So I don't seem to see a direction on the paperwork. So I guess we may end up having to come back to this and we'll find out. I just squared up to the holes we've got on it, but I may have been supposed to go horizontal instead of vertical. Yeah, let's try that. I'm going to bet that's more likely, because in a support sense it gives a wider base to work with. Where was I here? Yeah. Oh, right, setups. So anyway, so we've been talking about various setups, and he's actually quite seriously, good stuff, but investing a little bit here and there in what he thinks he would like to do as a more regular than just stream weekend type setup. I mean, at the moment he's still staying with just stream weekends, but it sounds like he's actually quite interested in potentially doing more. Likely not as frequent as me, so it may not even become like weekly or something, but we'll see what he wants to do. I have no clue what's going on in his foxy brain. That's up to him, but I'm amused to see how that works. We talked very briefly, very briefly, about potentially sharing a physical Lego space, particularly since I only use it once a week and that kind of jazz, or a physical crafting space. But aside from the fact that the one I'm currently using right now is in my own computer office, which of course is not conducive for him because we sort of have our own spaces and things. We also were discussing styles, and yeah, different styles and preferences about setups. We turn out to be not as compatible as I might have liked. So, yeah, we could not share a Lego or hands-on craft space, after all. They're not calling this anything weird yet, so I'm going to assume that it's not as notable a chunk as the previous stuff. Okay, now I have to figure out what this odd-shaped piece is. It says G2, but I have to figure out what G2 is. sheet mix. Oh, you're hearing me mutter over my shoulder. I apologize. The chair where I've set all the wood pieces is to my left, but my microphone doesn't reach that far. It's coming off my right-hand shoulder, so I'm trying to talk to it as much as I can, but then when I'm looking for parts, it's kind of difficult to do so. I just didn't put the chair on that side because at the moment I'm leery about snagging cabling. So, as I said, some of the parts are coming easily loose from the board, so now I have random bits loose. The light went on. This is some of the acrylic. Yeah, because I actually read the instructions, you know. I actually read the instructions on the screen. There's a little gray box below the shape that has a what do you call it? A little logo, I guess. And then beside it, it says, all acrylic needs to be assembled after removing the protective film. And both sides are covered with film. So, duh, give away that that's actually acrylic. So one of these sheets. And on the bright side, they appear to be mostly mirror reflections aside from the handle section down here. But it's not showing which kit part is which. So let's see if this one has a map. Our previous one that we did for a different company, it looks like, had a map as to which cards were which, and this one does not. Okay. That's fine. I'm looking at the original picture, kind of up top, and it looks like the part I'm concerned about is actually identical on both ends of the unit, so it really doesn't matter which one I push out. So I'm just going to start with the one that was quote-unquote on top. Because, yeah, it can. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay. And we're on step 2, yeah. G2. Okay. And it says all assembled after removing the protective film. So we have to be really careful at this point not to scratch it up, which means, you know, I'm just eyeing my little piece of sandpaper and hoping it's really far away in the corner of my desk. Okay, so we need this one with the holes. It doesn't seem to have a right or a left, I think. Or do they? Oh, no, I lied. They do. That's an L. I just noticed that. Hey, it stays. Unlike the wood. Okay, so this other one. I was trying to figure out why it had a little arrow at the top, and then I see, you know, instructions. But it's in the instructions which one, it's just I didn't see where that was on the part. Okay, so this has the arrow pointing to the right. Okay, and then before I take the film off, I'm just going to put the acrylic on the other side. Before I take the film off, I'm going to pull out the little pegs that we're going to be using for that. So card D is in Delta. B, D, C. Ooh. Okay. So Delta is housing some pretty parts. But it looks like the pegs are not. We need D7 and we need 4 of them. I'm hoping these other 2... Oh, there is extras. Okay. I was going to say, hoping there's spares. Which means that I can push from the inside. They don't appear to be... oh, no, those might be D7 plus. Okay. I'm going to start with these ones because they say D7. I need 4 of them. So 2... 1... Ah! I can get them. I do not want to go get my weeders for my paper craft stuff. That would just be a pain. You shouldn't need something like that to get these out. Okay, there we go. So I got 4 pins. 4 pins, which is going to hold this cog section to the other bit. Oh, okie dokie. That's probably why we needed the pins in the other one put in the direction that we did, so that they can stay flat and be a spacer. Alright. I'm just gonna, where did I put it? There's, just gonna grab my towel. I have a towel that lives, like, it gets washed regularly, but when it's not getting washed, it lives over one of the chairs or arms in my office, so that when I get sweaty hands or grit like this or whatever, I can just wipe it off. It's so handy to have. When you're gaming, and you actually have a tense moment that needs to make your hands all sweaty, then it's easy to wipe them down. Because, yeah, sweaty mouse just looks gross. And if I don't wipe it off, it tends to, over time, attract dust and dirt and things, so the mouse ends up looking worse. Okay, so these are all protective film covered. Now I have to figure out how to get that off. I might need to abrade it to figure that out. Come on. They understandably don't have easy remove areas, like stuff to grab. So I'm trying to figure out how to peel that off. It'd be nice if it was just simply saying, oh, well, it's frosted and off you go, but it's not. I can see it's got bubbles, so it's supposed to come off. Okay. Maybe, if I can't catch it with my nail... Oh, there we go, I did catch it with my nail. Aha! I threatened it, there you go. That's the idea, you threaten it. I was gonna say, if I couldn't get it, then I might have to pick a spot where very minor scuffing and scratching would be acceptable, and then use that so that I could, you know, potentially try and scrape under it with a sharp blade, like one of those craft blades. Over here, the colloquial is to call every craft blade an X-Acto. Or, I think I do have the X-Acto craft blade in my drawer. But in a pinch, when I don't have that, I still have my old college dissection kit, where we actually never ended up using any of the sharps. We always end up using the other stuff. Although, that said, I didn't make it as far in college in those courses as I would have originally liked. So I'm not surprised that a lot of those pieces are still pristine. I have to threaten the other side as well. Seriously? Come on. Yep, looks like I'm gonna have to threaten it. Or make the decision to go ahead with that threat from earlier. Yeah, looks like it. Phooey! Phooey! So I'm going to use my craft precision knife. But yeah, I could... back for a little bit. I hope your phone call went well. And if you need to lurk, I mean, I totally recognize if people need to lurk or head out or whatever, because I started an awful lot later than I ever claim in my scheduling. I'm tempted to adjust the records of my scheduling in wherever they're stored, you know, like in people's Discords and stuff, because I live such a life of ish when it comes to streaming, since it's a hobby, that it's probably not fair to people to say, hey, I'll be on at this time, and then not be. I mean, that's kind of, whether it be ADHD or life just comes up like the fridge thing or whatever, it's not necessarily fair, because by putting it down, having it on record, I mean, our community and stream team is so courteous that for the most part, people would prefer to train raid into one another rather than... Oh, I kind of wish this film had been protected after it was cut, but I know they can't do that. Now we're getting fingerprints galore, but I'm not really worried about that. I'm gonna bring the towel up. It's ugly, but just because I don't want to scratch the other side of it while I try and scrape up this corner to get stuff off. And the reason I'm not too bothered about the bottom, it looks like that when you set this down, these bottom corners are going to act a little bit like legs. So I'm less concerned about that. Okay, come on. We're going to have peel edge, please. Please. Oh, I don't know if I can grab it. I do, but there we go. So anyway, yeah, so all that to say that we have leftover bits and bobs and things, craft pieces. So Fox and I can't use the same space. I guess that's where I was going with this. I'm trying to figure out, it's a weird feeling to walk the 6 degrees of conversation backwards. Figure out what on earth I was trying to talk about. yeah. I fell in a YouTube poll last night. I'm not going to deep dive the conversation because you guys don't need to know a lot of that. It's, space stuff and whatever. But the hole I fell in last night in YouTube was related to circadian rhythm shifts, but also how people perceive how some of the world perceives the thinking styles of various different neurodivergences. And I'm not going to get deep in this because, it can be... It's one of those topics that can be touchy almost to the point of, when people talk about politics or religion or whatever. But where I'm trying to get to in my bringing up of the situation or content is simply to say that, so I fell in a hole about that last night and reading comments and stuff. People were talking about how they perceive sounds and focus in terms of conversations. So a little bit about why for some of them, not necessarily myself, but for some of them, trying to hold a conversation or be social in a relatively crowded, busy space is difficult for them. So yeah, that was the thing I fell into. First set in. Okay, these are going from the back. It looks like I go horizontal on these. But how that relates is that one of the reasons I prefer written communication, so I love it when I have either a single person talking to me or I'm in a situation where it's very clear who I'm supposed to be listening to, or who or what, and there aren't a whole lot of other sounds and sights and sensory inputs like smells and things to worry about. Because two things happen. One is that when it's a crowded space, I don't say hear everything at once. I sort of do, but not necessarily. I mean, I can still kind of filter things to focus on one conversation or topic or something. Not well, but I can. But what my brain wants to do, most of the time, is if there's multiple different inputs available, it will bounce focus from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another, repeatedly. And I have very little control over that. In most cases, I don't have control over that. So that's great, but if you combine that with shorter quantity of working memory than people say is typical, the resulting effect of the two together can make me seem like the stereotype idea of a goldfish. So if I was listening, people think I've tuned out and stopped listening, and to some extent that may be true, but it's not necessarily voluntary in terms of not caring or not being actually interested. My brain focused on something else. But if the memory issue kicks in to boot, I will not necessarily remember either what conversation was specifically saying previously, or I missed a little bit in the part I jumped, like when I jumped away, or even if I'm nattering on, like I am at the moment, I can have something very briefly distract me, a sight, a sound, or whatever, and then when I come back to me, or control, or central conversation, or whatever, it's actually slipped my mind. So I haven't necessarily forgotten entirely what I'm up to, or what I was talking about, but it can take a bit for me to get back to it. And sometimes I can't get the thought back. It's like, well, that train has left the station, and if it's important, it'll come back at another time. But right now, it's not there. So yeah, when you catch me pause and be kind of confused for a second, it's because I've briefly forgotten what I was on about. And that often leads to me tangentially going, oh, well, the last thing I can think of is X or Y, which could be something that I was just randomly reminded by one of the interruptions or distractions. So yeah, that's kind of perceiving things for me in a nutshell. So, I'm trying to keep up with chat and things, but if it seems that I'm missing the limited chat that we have, it may be because I'm onto some thread or whatever where either the work I'm doing with my hands is distracting, or the game that I'm watching on screen is distracting, or, you know, could have been something going on in the music, or. Like, there's a million different things, and I may just be attempting to reduce the number of things that are dragging my attention by briefly actively ignoring a piece that I know will drag my attention. It doesn't stay for long, because part of the reason I can make that choice to try and actively do it is I'm not trying to ignore your conversation, but what happens is, no, it's not a long piece here, but what happens is that because of all these pulls, I can guarantee that eventually part of my brain will say, yeah, no, but you should be guilty about skipping or missing this thing. And so there's a point at which I can't ignore it, and I'll get my attention dragged that way anyways. So, yeah. Okay, so we're back to that piece done. So now the next section, right below, it wants that piece to then have augmented pieces put on it. So D6/1. This one. Oh, me. Well, here's another thing though, is one can consider what's your audience. Okay. Now, while standard advice, and I mostly try to somewhat pay attention to standard advice insofar as my ability to follow said advice. That'll be. Do I have 2 D6 ones? No, I do not. Yeah, I do. And they both go the same way. Okay. So I'm just looking at the picture going, it seems backwards, but I guess it's not. I'm not sure where the box is here. Oh. Making a... I'm kind of confused, but that's alright. Where I'm coming in confusion-wise is these have golden pieces on both sides. So when we... Or no, sorry, on both sides. On one side. So I'm kind of wondering about when we sandwich them, how do they end up going the correct direction? Because this fix one rather clearly can only really go one way, but if the cogs I think the darker part is supposed to show the painted side. That's why I'm a little confused. But then again, the D6-2s that go the opposite direction are having the same problem and the same issue with the shading, so I'm wondering if they're just saying, yeah, these are the gold painted ones. I'm going to pretend that's the case, so I don't have to worry about it. Where was I? See? Where was I? There we go. Derailment. Oh, but as a streamer, that's what I was going to say. But although I tend to agree with the default advice that even when there's nobody in stream, you should just keep on talking if there is, because you never know when somebody's going to pop in and lurk for a bit and then pop out and maybe not have said anything. That kind of conversation. There's a center one. So there's that, but if you choose to be upfront and intentionally decide that your stream is going to be one of those silent quasi-ASMR type streams, whether it be music or anything else, and you're willing to be open and upfront about that, probably both in your title and description or through some sort of other, maybe a message on screen or something like that that's available during stream, then I don't think one needs to worry about it, right? So a lot of it is what's your audience, what's your point. If your intent is to have discourse back and forth, then it's doable, but it takes work. And I am not great at that work. I'd love to pretend, but that's all it would be, is pretending. Okay, so these two, I think we'll go that direction. We'll fit in here and here. And then I need E3 section, so I have to figure out where page E is. Large section that I was struggling with just a moment ago keeps popping out of the sheet. E3. Oh, there it is. So E3 actually has a different wood. It's gonna be beautiful when we're done, but I'm kind of confused by parts of it. Yeah, that's fine. Totally. Minimal conversation sounds great to me. Okay, so I'm looking at it and we've got, yep, the correct one, because these are the different tones of wood. Okay. It's going to look good, it's just, it is more of a puzzle in that sense. Okay, so E3 has a couple of these pieces. Once again, I'm going to start with the sort of inner ones. And then I'm going to have to find the other side of the sandwich. Alright, so I'll just set that one aside. D4A. D4... Can I mark it? D4A. I'm hoping it's these ones up here, because the bottom is D... looks like D4B. And that's a really weird A, but we'll go with it. Looks like an O, kind of. I mean, how many of those? 2? Okay. 2. And then we have, oh, those have bits on them. Don't like the bits. One of the other perks of being able to have a separate desk for this rather than keyboards is these micro bits of wood don't end up getting up in the keyboard. And then we need 2 E1s and 2 E2s to make some pins. Okay. 2 E1s. Come on. Oops. I'm pushing them down from the top on purpose because personal experience has been that if I push them up from underneath and they're not fully smooth, some kit cards aren't, where like the back is nearly uncut looking, then what happens is that I tend to either peel splinters off of the piece itself or going the opposite direction. Pardon me. It can just doesn't want to come out and it breaks huge chunks out of things. Okay, so 2 E1s and 2 E2s and they become pegs. Together. Come on. Oh. Line up. See you. I see you. That one. There we go. There's one. I am aware of the clock, so I'm calling 5-minute warning, just so you know. Well, approximately 5-minute warning rounded to the nearest 10. Eh. Or the nearest 5, depending on your point of view. Noted! Thank you. Usually it's the mods that notify me, because I am so able to go over. But I'm saying that also because if I do go over, I'm obviously not paying attention to watching my clock properly. Yeah, one of my screens is already counting down to the end of tomorrow's stream. It's an accidental thing on its part. It's supposed to pause and count up, but it did not. That's okay. Okay, this one, what are you getting hung up on? What are you hung up on? That's open. Dang. Oh. I've got some little pieces from the laser cut, or whatever it is, residue. Let's put in here. Thank you. And this one. I would like to get this side of the acrylic decoration done today. I mean, it'd be nice. Just because that way I don't have to worry about not just little pieces, but once you've done it once, it's a little easier to figure out for the next one. Oh, come on, Ken. Alright. So, through this side, stack them this way. And E3 on top. Does that get blocked? Writing sort of does, so I'm gonna let it show. They didn't tell me to hide it. No, I'm gonna flip it. Go. 1, 2. Gold bit on top, that's 3. Looks like an X. Like it lining this X piece up. And pin. You can't see the writing, so that's good. Sandwich. Oop. Bottom down. That goes on here. Aha! Part 1. Excellent. Alright, so I will reverse that sandwich this time and go the other way. So put that one on first. Then the E3 piece flipped inwards. Followed by 1. There we go. Goes on the other one. And this is the outside, it looks like, of that leg part. So the crisscross on the outside is apparently supposed to be visible. Okie dokie. I guess that sort of makes sense, just in case things start to fall apart later on. Okay, now the back side of that, this whole chunk. Oh, I need the second side. The back side of that, it has a colored card. Excuse me. 2D4B, as in Bravo. Okay, and then two more E3s. These things. D5, 2. This one. And D6-2. Alright. So hopefully this should be a little quicker to put, whoa. Okay, or not, to put these in. Because, yeah, it dropped. So set that down in reverse. We've got this one. And then lovely brown one. Got it. Lovely brown one and capped by the gold one. Please, thank you. Go. Fit. Fit. As I said so. Come on. Fit. Oh. Okay, well, that one wants to fight, but it's not going to come out. Ow! Out. As it pokes me. So it's pushing the pin backwards. So I may have to sand that one. Okay, let's get this one on. This side of the sandwich. And that one. And let's see. The lock piece, so in a way. So these are probably supposed to be tight so that they lock everything in and the pin doesn't come out. But it's definitely proving challenging. And I really don't want anything joining the ranks of the repair I already have to do, because yeah, that was a no replacements frustration piece. Wish. Thank you. So there we go. That one. That one went in. We can see it's holding better. This one, push the bottom pin out, so it looks like it's going to go in, but it's not really at the moment. All the other pieces fit through. We've got a gap at the top to work with. Work at, I guess. Don't let me rock it down. So that's fine. Aha. Yep, removed. Okay. So, that's where we got... Ooh. We are at the top of the hour, so that's where we got to. We have 2 chunks, which fairly soon, I believe, will probably be married together. And we will pick this up next week. So, I have been and continue to be Distractible Delenn. Hey. And we'll come back on Wednesday, I believe, for something Minecraft. Probably be Botania World again. That's most likely. No guarantees, because who knows what could happen in, more than 24 hours. But we'll give her a go. And I have a suspicion I may need to rotate some of these pieces, but I'm going to leave it, I think. So, anyway, that's where it went. Thank you ever so much for everybody coming on this hands-on activity ride, and I would love to get a little bit of feedback if anybody has time. Just throw it in Discord or DM me or something. Just to let me know what you thought of the lighting setup. I know I'm a weird color. I didn't match the color of my hands, so I have to fuss with that. The camera is... I have a funny feeling I may have actually changed color over the course of the stream, because that camera's being really strange. But we'll fiddle with that another day, and if I have to end up going no face cam, that's fine too. Yeah, so let's find somebody great to raid, and who's up at the moment? Oops. Good. Uh-oh. We're gonna snooze that ad. So I can find someone to raid these. Hello? Browser. Oh. There we go. Didn't want to pop onto the screen I expected. Alright. Now, who would have started? Hopefully we'll have someone decent. I'm liable to go Minecraft rather than a hands-on craft piece, just because that's usually where my bread is buttered. So that will be what we're looking at. And there's a few that tend to raid out fairly quickly. What have we got going here? I think we're going to go back in, and we're probably going to drop in on Corrupted Tree, because Corrupted Tree tends to go a little bit longer. I do see that Maribel Jade is up, it's just that she's over her 2-hour mark, and I don't know if she likes to go longer than 2 hours, mostly. So yeah, that's where we're going, and please hang on to your hats, or whatever it's called, as I get this raid going. So, one of the disadvantages of having the second desk is I haven't figured out yet what I need for all of my fancy schmancy buttons. Yeah. There we go. Spell that. That's it. We'll find out. Yep, I like that one. Alright, so if emotes are the things you like, they are in chat there for you. Raid messages and all. Thank you ever so much to Creef for the raid. Always a treat, never required. Also thank you to Jay for hanging out and dropping a first, along with Mama Bear, Fantastic, Sherlock Fox, and Jay being our mods for the day. And we had conversation from them and Creef. Yeah, so if you were hanging out and just watching, and I hope you enjoyed, please do give Corrupted Tree our best. I will be there for a very brief moment, and then I will disappear to get some activities done at this end. So see you guys the next day. Have a wonderful time, and bye-bye for now.